Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
All right, good. You got your breakfast, your coffee, you're good to go, right?
Yes.
I have no idea what kind of magic Cheryl has to bring you out of your hometown, be here Friday morning, and out of your bed, and to hear somebody talk about death, dying, and serious illness. You know, being a palliative care specialist, I deal with death, dying, and seriousness daily. So many of you may not know, but I am actually a daredevil. You may think, daredevil?
No shoes.
I know what you're thinking. You think, I thought you who deal with death and dying are more like a Green Reaper. Yeah? I do that too. I would let you in a secret. I am the cutest Green Reaper you will ever meet. Should you ever need one. Through my time dealing with patient and family, in the past about 10-some years, oops, did I say 10-some years? I started when I was 10. Death dying is one of the intimate time that I could ever have with any individuals. The level of connections, the level of closeness to the humanity is so profound. I'm not a born daredevil, but my patient and my family had made me one. It's not that there won't be times, especially my earlier days, when I have to deal with like 3-4 deaths per week, that I don't fall flat on my faith. There is time when I feel every single patient, when they pass away, a part of me kind of gone with them, right? So I'm sure that you have your clientele, and there are times when you start losing 1, 2, 3, or more of them one by one or together. So what I wanted to talk about is, like Cheryl said yesterday, shit happens. Yeah, in my daily life, shit happens. And 1 minute, somebody was walking, talking, playing, working. The next minute, motor vehicle accidents, stroke, a news of pancreatic cancer hits. Shit happens. The question is, after shit happens, then what? Then what? I love you guys' work so much. To plan ahead of time financially is so healing than any of you ever imagined. Have the privilege to deal with patient and family that is going through this difficult time. Know the difference between somebody who has no plan, no idea, has strict or HMO from Medicare, and that's it. Old couples own a house, and one suddenly gets sick. Totally no plan at all. Versus somebody who had the privilege to work with one of you guys, plan this out, and having this the same incident hits. The amount of healing that you guys did ahead of time is tremendous. You guys are healers. There are times that when situation is so difficult and so profound, and a person gets like me or like you, we do the same type of work when we feel that maybe not enough strength, or not enough capacity to deal with one more. And like the one doctor told me, Ju-Lu, every single patient that passed away took one piece of me away. If that's the connection that you have with your clients, unless you can expand yourself infinite amount of ways, you are going to end up with nothing, no you, no more you to serve. And that's not what we want, right? So there are times when you are in that spot when everything hits. I know probably some Star Wars fan here, how Luke Skywalker and his teammates and fall into that trash compactor. So stink, right? Stink, scary, and things kind of go at you at all different places. That wall and that ceiling and that floor start to kind of go at you. That's how it feels like, right? When you are in that tough spot. Scary, is this it? Am I going to be this hamburger with trash? That's going to be the end of my life. And am I going to be this little nothing can no longer raise up? So those questions, when you are asking yourself that, and it's a difficult place to be. The more you care, the harder those questions are coming at you. So the grief and loss and the stress and the love is just one coin in different side. I wanted to share with you some personal stories that I have. Being a nurse, that taking care of patient and family in this situation where they are dying and were dead, or encounter chronic and serious illness. I was always taught that you need to put this boundary up, build your emotional resilience, so that nothing like this can slip through. I will have to tell you, that doesn't work. Human beings are naturally connecting creatures. No matter how many times that I say goodbye to my patient and prepare myself, and the next day I may not see them. Something may happen during the evening shift, the graveyard shift. The emotion is still seep through. I have one social worker came and tell me and share with me that, Ju-Lu, what do I do? I'm caring for this 6-year-old boy, and the whole family's sadness is catching up to me. What do I do? I have some good physicians came up to me and say, Ju-Lu, I just can't do this anymore. Too much. Too many heartbreaking stories. I can't go on. So if you are thinking, and when I was in my younger years, thinking I'm going to build this emotional thick wall, and then I'm just going to build this dam so that I could stop this emotional tsunami, and that's not going to happen. That is probably the reason why about 1/3 of palliative care professions burned out. That's when people's passion die out. So we are not only dealing with the natural death and dying, we are also dealing with the passion death and dying. And what I wanted to open up to you is that while one thing in certain in life, I was talking to Cheryl, is death and tax. So I know that you're familiar with tax. I'm familiar with death. I think that's the one connection we have here. And there is always There's always a way to look at these things in a totally different angle, and that's what I want to share with you. If you come at it as this, meaning that I have to resist coming on the position of resistance, that's not going to work. The sadness, the loss, the grief is going to go at you because humanly impossible. The moment if I couldn't be the connecting being, the moment if I facing my patient and family, if I don't drop tears not only because I'm sad, this case are sad, if I cannot resonate with them, that's the day that I cannot do this work anymore. And you're going to ask me if you're going to feel that strong emotion day in and day out, how are you going to hold up for yourself? Right? I mean, can you afford to cry every single day? When I have 3 patient family and they all devastated, every family meeting there's crying involved, and then my tear did shed, and how do I hold up? And I really learned in a very, very hard way, is I will have to let go of the preferred result that I want. That I have to let go what I wanted for them. I have to let go that the outcome, just like we all do, you want a abundance financial outcome for your client, but your client just not making it. I want my client to live forever, but they are not making it, right? So I have to let go that preferred outcome of mine and in trust that they will rise up in the natural and virtue of humanity. I have to trust that. And then let go and also keep that deep connection. I need to be willing to stay very, very open, but yet very focused. I have my intention there. My intention is healing. The next one is going to be a little bit hard. I need to be able to recognize how unimportant I am. I'm not the only hero in this story. Your clients, your family are the heroes too. Recognize how unimportant I am, you are, but yet how valuable I am, you are. This is a little bit difficult concept, and then on the story I'm going to see if I could help you to have a taste of it. Is the faith and the belief that there is this journey that your client is going to travel. Our role as a healer is to be that catalyst to make enough impact, just enough to motivate the whole system, and the whole system will rise up and heal itself. To have that faith that you are not the only hero, I'm not the only hero in this story. How the Marvel story that's called for all Avengers? Our job is to figure out how do we evoke the hero out of our clients. Sometimes how to evoke that hero inside of us. So there is this patient that was called to a case. When I first got there, I saw this magnificent, beautiful mansion. In front of the mansion, there are 4 police cars raving red light, blue light, red light, blue light. I sit in my car, I'm thinking, well, with this amount of sheriff And there, at least I'm safe, right? I went into the house, beautiful house. The patient stayed in the library. That's from the front of the house, beautiful library. There must be about maybe 25, 30 people there. She has 5 sons. I think the one that thought that he's supposed to be the manager of the trust, turned out that's not the case. The one thinking that he's going to have that yacht and also some summer vacation home in Southern America, turned out that's not the case. So I think the estate plan was changed and reviewed over time, but each time was not with the whole group. So nobody knows exactly what's going on, and the patient is not doing well. So me as a nurse at the time, my first priority is my patient, right? So with those 5 sons and their spouse, that's 10, their adult grandchildren, that's 15, and each family had brought their own lawyers. There's a regional bishop and his follower priests. Did I get my numbers right? I mean, you guys are financial planner, you can calculate how many people there. But the atmosphere was so tight. I can see the police officers, they are start to put their hands closer to their weapons. Just in case something happened. I think the next thing going to happen, I think those news reporters going to show up. So I went and see my patient. She doesn't look good to me. Really not looking good. I mean, after you do this for a while, you know approximately when it's about the time of transitioning. So I did take her blood pressure. Not only I take once, I take 3 times because I couldn't hear anything. What that means medically, this patient is actively dying. When? Nobody knows. Only the higher power knows. She's barely interactive. She can open her eyes, and that's about it. I examine her. Oh, I have to tell you, I'm a Chinese. I'm going to tell you mango. Can you imagine mango in somebody's abdomen? And then that's how I feel. That means her bladder is super full. Now I have a choice. I can be this good nurse, right? I prop her nicely in the bed and I relieve her bladder. She died in the process, and I go back and announce she's dead. And then you guys can deal with your estate issues in the court for the next 30 years? Yeah? That would be an easy route to go. I did my best practice as a nurse. I wash my hand, I say, here, I did my duty. But what I will face is, if I have done that, what would I face was, at the end of the day, I'm going to ask myself, did I do enough? Remember I was telling you that how those deaths will hit you one after another, and one after another? This was one of them. I will know that somewhere deep in my conscience that this is not a happy ending. But can I foster a happy ending and make sure this lady doesn't die? No, this lady's going to die. No blood pressure, right? So when I let go, the outcome I prefer, meaning this lady doesn't die under my watch. Tomorrow is somebody else's shift, right? So if she doesn't die in my watch, that's my preferred outcome, but my preferred outcome will probably not happen. Well, at least I don't know. I have no control over it. So I look at her. And I look at the picture that she has in this library. Here was she holding the first boy, baby. And then the way she looked at her, oh, so adorable baby. Here is she having the second boy, and the first one was so curious and was playing with the first one, playing with the second boy. Here's another picture, 5 monkeys jumping on the bed. This fiasco out the door with 5 family and 5 some lawyers and with their associates is not what the lady would have wanted. She will want them to have the same family reunion, like the one of them graduated from Harvard or something. Here you see a proud mom with this Harvard graduate young guy with all the guns and all that, and with his siblings surrounding and happily together. She will want that. But am I guaranteed I can have that happen? No. Not when they are about to kind of almost eat each other alive over there out of that library door. My path was clear. My path is healing. I cannot cure this lady, she's dying. But I can do probably just enough and see what happens. Guess what I did? I went up to the room with about half of you here, probably, and I shouted as loud as I can. I said, "Listen, I have important news to share. Would you please listen?" And here they are and thinking, who is this crazy chick? This Asian, with a thick accent and crazy lady is shouting. But I did get their attention. I waited. One after one stopped talking and become quiet. Oh my God, have you heard of deafening silence? That was that. I waited until you can hear a pin drop on the floor. And I look at them and say, she is dying. I cannot detect any blood pressure. I want 3 things to happen. First, I want the bishop to perform sacrament of the sick. No, the whole family is Catholic. For some Catholic, they believe that if that ceremony is not performed, the soul is going to hell for eternity, and that's not going to be too nice. Especially bishops right here, right? I say second, I don't know how much funds that she has, but at least I need $3,000 carved out. Here's our preferred a list of funeral homes that can do cremations. So $3,000 is the list amount that one of those funeral homes will take to cremate her body. So that will be a pledge of her body if her heart stops beating. Agreed? They all nod their head. I think with the yacht and the Southern American vacation home, 3,000 is probably not that much. So I said, third, this lady in the past 2.5 months was cared for by the kindness of her neighbor's granddaughter's heart. It would be nice if your family can show some gratitude. But from this point on, I need $3,000 to pay for caregiving. She doesn't have much time, but that needs to be in place. Agreed? I'm so grateful they all nod their head. The bishop led the priest, and they all went into her room, and followed by family members still practice that Catholic religion. It was a pretty touching ceremony. I'm not Catholic, but I went in just to bear the witness. Well, guess what happened? Anybody can guess? No, she woke up. Now it's my turn to be very uncomfortable, right? This lady with no blood pressure I measured 3 times woke up. My preferred outcome did not happen. Well, cannot happen, but did not happen. What did not happen? What happened? Whatever. But it's not what I expected. I expect this patient to die. So she woke up. Not only she woke up, she was hungry. Hungry? My no blood pressure patient was hungry. Oh my God, so uncomfortable as a nurse, right? But I learned to be open. My intention was healing. Doesn't really matter if she wants spaghetti or she wants Chinese porridge. I mean, if you're up to me, if I'm dying and if I'm hungry, feed me Chinese porridge. So she asked for spaghetti. She finished about a quarter plate. That was pretty impressive for somebody who has no blood pressure and full bladder. I mean, I had to say that I have my mind a little bit tucked on that bladder thing, but she doesn't look that uncomfortable. So I did ask her whether she wanted us to relieve her bladder. She said no, thinking something miracle is going on. I'm not going to interfere with that miracle. I'm not going to play that hero. I'm insisting you lay down. I'm going to put a catheter in you to relieve your bladder, right? So I flow with the flow. Recognize I'm not the hero. At that moment, she is. She's about to raise up, perhaps deal with the issue that's happening right now. So I told the family that we don't know how many times that she would have, how long she would have, probably not long, that to be conscious. So if you have anyone that you want her to see or to meet, now is the time. So people start to bring their toddlers and their infants, and the kids start to play together and this and that. When kids enter the room and they start laughing and playing together, smiles start to happen. I said, well, she is conscious, so anybody who wanted to talk to her and she wanted to talk to you, feel free to talk, because this is your time, this is her time. So one after another go in and visit her. She probably saw about 15 families, different sets of people. She did die 3.5 days later. But I was happy to know that this family had come to agreement about what happened with the estate without the lawyers. So this is what can happen if you let go of your preferred outcome. Sometimes our humanly imagination is so limited. We think it's going to happen, this for sure is going to happen, but the higher power or the one who is transitioning has better plan. I'm not the hero, and the thing that I really did in that situation is I opened up a safe space, a safe space for people to listen to each other, to listen to her, to listen to what is the most important thing in that moment. I was humble enough to be open. I mean, I was surprised in several occasions by the lady, but hey, who am I, right? But keep very focused. My focus was healing. My goal is not only her healing, but also the whole family's healing. That's my goal. I was humble enough to let her and let the family to rise up to be the hero. I did go home, knowing that the lady was dead. Smile. She had a smile on her face when she passed away. So I'm opening a space out for you to encourage you to look beyond the numbers. I know you're all left-brained, right? I'm taking a risk here to push into your right brain to look at this situation more in not a science, but of art. The next story I'm going to share is another patient. This is a little bit more clinical story, so bear with me. So I was inside hospital, and here is this patient. He was diagnosed with chronic schizophrenia. That means that he has active hallucinations. And you can tell he's in this active hallucinations because he's talking to people that's not there. And unfortunately, in this hallucination, he is fighting with someone, and then he was very irritated. He was pounding the walls, and he was kicking the food cart, and you can, in the hospital, if you do that, there's a serious consequences, right? So all the nurses already closed all the corridors and then closed all the patients' rooms. They already gotten the order from physician that if something happened, they can call security guard, and what's going to happen was the 5-6 buff security guard will rush in. They will pin him to the floor. They will give him the sedating medication. Now, this patient's worst nightmare, meaning he's being attacked, just came true. The next hallucination that he's going to have is going to be even more vivid. The other consequences is if his medical record have this aggressive behaviors, meaning he has to be pinned down and given medications and all that aggressive behavior, it'll be almost impossible for him to find a place to live. Okay, could you imagine my safe route here is? My safe route is just sit there and do nothing, right? The nurses are already gotten their orders. The corridors and the patient's room are all closed. Safety is met. Security guard is 30 seconds away. Medication is all prepared. They are in the medication room. I could just say, okay, safety is there. None of my business. I cannot just do that. I really can't. Especially when I look in his eyes, beneath the anger, underneath that agitation, I saw fear. He was trying to protect himself from the imaginary people that's in his head. He was just trying to be safe, just the same as us. We try to be safe, the nurses try to be safe. He was just merely trying to find that peace of mind. And the only resources he has is to be aggressive and protect himself. To be as loud and as aggressive as he can, hoping that people is going to get scared away. That's what he was doing. I pick out the phone and I call the physician. Can I palliate and support? It's a little bit stretching, and he's not nearly dying, but he does have a serious episode. The physician said yes. I said, I'm not going to suggest any medication here, but I'm just going to palliate and support. Palliate means to relieve. Supposedly it's to relieve pain and suffering. And that's what my intention is. So I came up to that guy. Here I am, dressed relatively nice, petite Asian woman. He is tall and, kind of buff. And I said, "This sucks." I punched in the air inside of the wall, just 1 notch below what he was doing. And I kicked. I said, "That's not fair." And he looked at me like intrigued. Who is this crazy chick? I probably is no threat to him because he knows if he wants, he can just strike me down, right? He looked at me, and I played my iPhone. That was a lifesaver. I played this hot metal rock music, boom, 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 and then I saw him start to move a little bit with the rhythm, and I followed. And he counted me and said, "What?" I said, "What? Show me." And he came out to me and said, "No, no, no, no." And I said, What? I will have to say I'm not without fear. He's this tall and he could just, and I will be. So, guess what he did? Guess what he said to me? He said, "No, you move this way." And I said, "Show me." So here you see 2 people dancing on the hospital floor and with heavy metal music. One of the patient's room door opened up. Out come this family member. It turned out he owned a band. He came out to me and said, "I don't believe that you play heavy metal music here in the hospital." I said, "Sometimes we do. In some special occasions." He said, "Can you play my music?" So I quickly give him my iPhone. I said, "Good, you are my music director here." So I said, "Just play one song mellower than the next one. Just one song mellower than the next one." So start from the heavy metal rocking music to soft rock and then to more mellower, to a point that the sitters that he has feel safe enough to invite him to play a board game. Now the board game later on become a card game. The card game become a story reading. And from story reading, he fall asleep. To be willing to be open enough has some level of creativity in it, right? I wasn't planning to play heavy metal music. Probably if my hospital CEO came out, she probably will call me to his office. Has a little bit risk-taking and rebel piece in that when I come up with that solution. I don't know if that doesn't work, what else will happen. But I'm not willing to back down. I'm not willing to see that he being pushed down and pinned by the security guard. I'm not willing to see that. My intention is healing. My intention is for a different outcome to happen. Any specific outcome? Not really. Do I make sure he's at bed and resting? No. But how you can be open, but yet so focused? Then, surprisingly, a different result can happen. And if you're open enough, there's always some creative result can happen. You probably never think that your work or my work have that level of creativity into it. But it's true. It's true. If you're willing to be open enough, there is this level of art and this level of creativity can be in it. And of course, I let go the result of this supposedly to be a in hospital we call it code gray, but security guard case. I could have just said that's it. I can label it that way and just not participating. And that, to see that kind of outcome happen, to know that by me participating, by me being that catalyst of the whole situation, by me evoking the hero out of him, and know that a different result, a different outcome can happen, that is a different place to be. The next story that I'm going to tell you is about how to be humble and to recognize that me is not the only hero. When I first saw this client, he was in ICU. He must either fail or somebody must hit him really hard in his head. He has this tremendous bleeding in his head. Now, human skull is enclosed, right? So if any injury happens in the brain, the brain swell up. I'm Chinese, I'm going to tell you an analogy of tofu. Okay, imagine a bag of tofu. The only opening is here to your spine. Now, if you apply so much pressure into that bag of tofu, then tofu is going to squeeze through. The only opening that tofu is going to go is to the spine, correct? Now you got it? So his injury was so severe, even after we actually opened up his skull and bandaged him real good and tape one piece of skull in his head so we don't lose it in the hospital. It happens. That happens. It really happens. We lose a piece of someone's skull. So it does happen. So preferably not happen, but it does happen. Even that is not enough to relieve the pressure that generating from his brain. He doesn't look good. He's not responding. When I say not responding, is to a very severe measures. You apply pain, meaning that you pinch him and then you poke him really, really hard and say, really apply pain. And nurses know how to torture the patients. Okay? Just so you know, nurses are not all angels. So we have to do some neuro check and we apply pain to see if the patient will respond. He is now no responding to pain. When you shine lights on his eyes, he doesn't track, he doesn't react. It look like totally no hope. So about probably 12 or 15 physicians, intensivists, those are the doctors that are attending in the ICUs, neurologists, neurosurgeons, even the palliative care doctor look at all the CT scan, MRI, those images in his brain, just sit back and sigh. There's really no hope. There's no image in his brain were normal. The toughness of this case is that he's about 35 years old. I do wish that he has the chance to work with one of you guys, then he will have his advanced health directive, right? So he has none. Not only he has none, he has no healthcare decision surrogate, written down, documented. He's gay. He ran away from his home in Mexico because his family couldn't accept him as gay. That was 20-some years ago. He landed in California, and he has this roommate who know him for 20-some years. He has a blood-related sister in other state who is Catholic and and have a family. So my patient is gay and practice New Age Buddhism. So normally technically has different things. I think you know that what normally should happen was technically happening, and are two different things. Technically, a healthcare decision surrogate is somebody who's willing, able, and have patient's best interest in mind. In California, there's no other criteria. And California is special. We're always special. So technically, the physician should assign somebody who's willing, able, and have the patient best intention in mind, preferably have shared the same value and belief and all that. So in this case, the preferred health decision surrogate will be the friend, right? But most physicians are so afraid of lawsuits, and they prefer to assign to blood-related family. The only one we can get a hold of is his sister, who barely speaks English, and have not seen him for 7 years. To bring the sister up to date was difficult. Her image of her brother was 7 years ago, when this guy was, was totally functioning and that. We managed to use Skype to hopefully to have her see, what the patient's at. I think the nurses in ICU in this case did too good a job. They wrap him out nicely, bandage and all that, and neat and tuck, on bed. So when we show the sister video, the first thing that the sister said was, "Look how handsome he is." Like, how handsome? He's not reacting to pain stimuli. She's to the best. If some miracle happens, if his brain doesn't get squished as tofu, like what I explained, then to the best, he probably will be a vegetable. That means that with his heart and kidney still functioning, as strong as 35 years old, his whole body is going to lay in some nursing home for the next maybe 20, 30 years, slowly rotten beats by beats. How handsome he is. So when we share what the patient had verbally talked to the friend, apparently this patient was a caregiver for his friend's wife, who had been through the hospice situation for about 3-4 months. So he was the primary caregiver for his friend's wife, and had verbally say to his friend that, "I would never want to be in this bedridden total care situation. No, not me. If that happens, shoot me or something." But nothing was documented. The only thing we can go by was this verbal memory, recalled memory by the friend, who apparently is not being appointed as healthcare decision surrogate. When the sister heard that we are trying to get her agreement to remove the life support, she went livid. She said, I know you don't want to treat him because he's Mexican. I know you don't want him to be your ICU because he has no good insurance. I know you want to kick him out of the hospital. That's why you want me to be this killer. You don't even have the guts to be killer yourself and make that decision yourself. You want me to be the killer. How coward you are. I'm okay to be a Green Reaper, to be the facilitate, to facilitate that circle of life. Or killer? I asked myself, because I was hired, my employment with hospital, I asked myself, is it possible that is because of my position, because I have that hint of cost savings were quality measures for the hospital, and that had driven me to push for the comfort measures, to remove the life supports. Is that possible? I question myself, is it because I'm not comfortable with my own mortality? I don't know whether I have the strength to be chronically ill, total care in that bed for 20, 30 years. It's my own uncomfortableness, my own fear. Now I'm pushing for someone to die. Because if we remove the breathing tube, we remove his oxygen, most likely he's going to die. That was difficult. I decided to stay open. I called up to the sister. I said, I know you are mad at me to entertain the idea for you to make that decision for your brother. I know that by making this decision, you are going to have to face the whole family that's in Mexico thinking that you are that killer. How about that we bring your family on the table so you don't have to be that messenger that they are going to be mad at, that me, to be that messenger. Not to say for them to make decisions, but allow them to hear firsthand what's happening. She's still mad at me, but she agreed. I think not to be the messenger idea is a little bit more comfortable than being forced. I mean, this family, I would tell you, because this patient was in ICU for about a month. So you can imagine the level of intensity and then totally non-responsive, no hope. So you can imagine the pressure that the whole health team is under. So she agreed. So we called Mexico. We got his father, the patient's father. This is with Spanish translation. The old guy picked up the phone. And he said, honey, I have 4 sons. 4 sons. 3 of them have the same thing happen. I prayed to God, and God had granted me a miracle. Don't you remove anything. Let me pray to God. Miracle will happen. Oh my God. I'm not sure 3 of the sons have another 12 physicians and 15 physicians look at MRIs in Mexico to make sure that the diagnosis was correct. I'm not sure. I'm not there to ask. But this old gentleman has such a strong faith that he has that direct dial to the heaven. Who am I to say that he doesn't? So eventually, we did gotten the sisters' agreement, knowing that being a vegetable, at least that's our diagnosis or prognosis, will not be what this patient would have wanted for the next 20, 30 years of his life, torturing and suffering. with bare minimum consciousness. So we did remove his tube. I was there watching the oxygen drop, the breathing slower and become irregular, and his skin tone from that rosy cheek start to turn whiter and whiter and almost to that waxy pale. Guess what happened? Well, the oxygen come back up. The breathing start to be more and more regular. Who am I to be that hero and thinking that even after 20, well, not 20, 12, I'm exaggerating, 12 and 15 physicians said that he's going to be dead. We pull his tube, we give him narcotics like morphine, thinking that he's going to die. He's not ready. Breathing become regular. Heart rate become regular. He started to open his eyes. I guess the direct dial to the heaven worked. I don't have that direct dial. I think next time something happens, I'm going to call that old guy. He started able to blink, to say yes or no. To a point, it's consistent. To a point that when I ask whether he's hungry, he can consistently tell me he was hungry. He was not able to swallow safely, so we have to put a tube in his stomach to feed him formula. He started able to squeeze. He started able to wiggle his toes. Oh boy, you can imagine the uncomfortableness, not only for me, but for the whole care team. I mean, the neurosurgeon is not going to run on the case. It's disappeared. The neurologist disappeared. The ICU doctor, because there's no tube and the patient's on floor, disappeared. So it's us facing the family to have to tell them whatever we told you for a month after day after day that he was going to die was not correct. He did not die. He lived. How many times that you are in that situation, that the sense of uncomfortableness, your client calling you on the phone and say, I told you to buy that stock. Look, it's up 3 times. And the portfolio you put me on in and doesn't even move, or even has a decline. How many times that you face that kind of judgment? I think the hardest judgment really is how many times you face your own judgment when you hear somebody say to you something like that. You feel like you have no credibility and no authority. Nor can you, now you start to doubt that you can really help. And that was what it was at that time. The connection I built to this family and to his friend was able, surprisingly, although I thought they are going to not take my call and thinking that I'm totally useless junk, a liar even. And I think the connection I built allowed them to see hope, allowed them to see that no matter what happened, I'm there with them. The humble experience that I experienced, I did when after the neurosurgeon and the neurologist, I said, tell me, how can you tell us that this is for sure a death case? And here this guy waking up. So the poor neurologist pulled all the chart together and review image by image. And until he reviewed the image, that when this patient was first came into our emergency room, he looked at the image and he went silent. I said, what? What did you see? Now. And he told me, Ju-Lu, this patient should have been dead. I said, how many should have been dead patient that you have? So I can brace myself, how many? He said 10%. 10%? I think the lottery, or the slot machine in Las Vegas probably has worse odds. 10%. Who am I to say that there's no hope? Who am I, or who is anyone to say that there was no recovery? The more I do palliative care, I've seen different, unbelievable things happen. Human body has infinite ability of healing. Whatever healing really is presenting itself. The question is, are you willing to be that catalyst healer to enable for that to happen? Are you willing to look at your own uncomfortableness, your own judgments to yourself, and be there, to be out there, create the safety space, to be willing, to be open, but yet so focused, so connected. Be willing to let go, but so connected. Be willing to be humbly recognized you are so unimportant, but yet so valuable. Be willing to be in that space, so to be that catalyst, to look at this whole jigsaw puzzle, pull so tight in all directions, and be curious enough to figure out where is that possible wiggling point. Be willing to look at this not as a science, but only science, but it's a mixture of science and art. To be willing to bear the witness to allow this art form unfold. To allow that flower blooming and blossom from that rock and hard place. I'll leave you a quote. Hopefully this works. Well, I know this is a classic, so I'm not pretend to be the Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King, but are you ready for this Taiwanese American Martin Luther King? I have a dream.
Yes.
I have a dream that one day that all profession that dealing with human being can recognize they are healers. I have a dream for the doctor not only look at medication and procedures. I have a dream that for the financial planners not only look at investments and numbers and statistical reports, but recognize they are this enabler, they are this healer for their client. I have a dream. I have a dream that you could look beyond what you do technically and take a step back and be comfortable to be uncomfortable. I have a dream that for you to not only embrace the technical expertise that you have, but also look what you do as an art. There's always room for healing. Thank you.